is John McQuay with 8541 Tactical. Today we're going to go over 3 different methods of bolt manipulation. There are different methods of running the bolt for different situations. I've learned a couple of different ways over the years, some that I like, some that I'm not too keen on. But we're going to demonstrate them to you and let you come to your own conclusions on what you like. The first method of bolt manipulation I'm going to go over is the standard, what I like to call grip it and rip it method. This is where you close the bolt. Once you've fired the rifle, you completely remove your hand from the pistol grip, grab a hold of the bolt handle, lift, pull to the rear, drive it forward, and slam it back down to load a new round. The grip it and rip it method has a couple of advantages. First of all, it allows you to apply the most force possible to the bolt handle. If you're working in gritty or dirty environments, it'll allow you to slam that round home, even if there's a little bit of nastiness in the action. The drawback to the grip it and rip it method is that in order to do it, it really disrupts your firing position. If you get any drag on the bolt, it's going to kick the rifle over to the side as you lever that bolt up. Normally, when people do it, they have to lift their elbow off the ground, and they're actually moving almost the entire right hand side of their body. It is effective, it is fast, but if you're trying to keep a perfect position and minimize your movement, it's not the best to use. The second bolt manipulation technique that we're going to go over today, this is actually my favorite. I don't really know what to call it. It doesn't really have a name, so I'll just simply demonstrate. When you're holding the rifle, once you've fired your shot, you stick your fingers forward, blading your hand, and you rotate your hand up, pivoting on your thumb, which is still across the top of the pistol grip. This lifts the bolt handle to its fullmost position. You then hook your fingers backwards underneath the bolt handle, draw it back to its rearmost position to eject the round. Then, when it's at its rearmost position, you'll place your thumb on the back of the bolt handle. Your thumb will then drive the bolt handle forward. Once you get to the most forward position, your fingers will curl under the front of the trigger guard and under the floor plate to give leverage to your thumb to allow your thumb to lock the bolt down. Once the bolt's fully locked down, your hand will then drop rearward, right back onto the pistol grip. And if you notice, when we do this, there's almost no movement in our arm. Your elbow can stay on the deck as you do this. It's extremely fast, and it disrupts hardly any portion of the rifle or hardly any portion of your position. The final bolt manipulation technique that I'm going to demonstrate is come back from overseas. It's come back from a need for Marines to operate their bolt action rifles as rapidly as possible. It's a rather unorthodox technique in that you don't use the trigger finger. You're actually going to use your middle finger to fire the rifle. What you do, start in your regular firing position, but instead of holding the pistol grip, you're going to come forward and actually grip the bolt knob with your thumb and your trigger finger. You're going to hold on to it rather firmly. You're going to take your middle finger and place your middle finger on the trigger. You'll actually not have any portion of your hand touching the stock of the rifle. It's all bolt handle and trigger. You'll pull the trigger with your middle finger, lift the bolt, pull it to the rear, slam it forward, lock it down, and your middle finger will naturally fall back on the trigger position. It does disrupt your firing position. It's not extremely precise, but it is very fast. And I don't practice it enough to show you the true speed that it's capable of. But if you practice it for yourself and get used to it, you can fire a bolt action rifle extremely fast on larger targets. The last thing we're going to go over today is what's commonly referred to as a press check or a chamber check. When you've got rounds loaded in the magazine and you drive the bolt forward, you want to be sure that the bolt has actually picked a round up and chambered it. Sometimes the bolt will ride over top of the rounds and not actually drive one into the chamber. Now, if you're just on the range target shooting, that's kind of nice because it surprises you. It'll allow you to check if you have a flinch or if you have good form. In a match, it's not so good because it can cost you time, it can cost you points. On the street for a professional sniper, it can cost somebody their life. So what I suggest people do is get in the habit of every time you chamber a round, execute a chamber check to ensure that there actually is a round in the chamber. Now, a very simple way to do this is when you're in the firing position, blade your hand, bring the bolt handle up, and then just simply hook your fingers backwards. You only need to bring the bolt back about an inch or so. Now, using your fingers gives you a little bit finer feel. And once you brought the bolt back, reach forward into the ejection port and you can feel the bolt lugs and feel just forward of that. And if you feel a piece of metal forward of the bolt lugs, that means you have a round in the chamber. You can then come back, grab your bolt handle, drive it forward and lock it down. Things to be careful of on a chamber check. I have seen people do chamber checks by lifting the bolt and simply pulling it back. The problem with that is you don't get a very good feel for how far back the bolt is. You may find yourself pulling the bolt back too far, and if you allow that round to come too far out of the chamber, then the shoulder will jump out of the chamber and you won't be able to push it forward very well. You'll have to reach back up forward here, push the round in, and then push the bolt forward before you can rechamber that round. Another problem is if you get a little bit excited, you may come back too far and you may totally eject the round from the chamber. If that happens, just simply go ahead and drive a new round home. You can pick that one up later. It'll cost you less time if you're on a timed stage than if you try to fumble around and get it in. The best course of method is anytime you get goofed up on a chamber check, just go ahead and pull it back to eject the round and drive a new one home. I'll demonstrate that again. Once you've driven it home, lift with your fingers, pull back slightly, reach forward, and check that there is a cartridge in the chamber. Drive it forward and close. You can look visually if you wish, but that's generally going to require a right-handed shooter to break position. Also, it doesn't work in the dark. You'd have to break out a flashlight. If you're a professional sniper, then that's not going to be a very good option for you. Go ahead and try it. Get in the habit of doing it anytime you load the rifle. It'll suddenly become second nature. You'll find anytime you drop down behind the rifle, you'll execute a chamber check as soon as you know it's loaded.